Alrighty, welcome to episode 182 of Tokwa's Ask Us Anything. As usual, it's been a pretty busy news week. The WEV network has thankfully proven itself resilient against an excessively long 4-day and counting ChargeFox outage that has stranded many eastern states' EV owners who have no way to initiate fast DC charging sessions. Thankfully, Synergy and Horizon Power mandated that all its fast DC chargers automatically revert to free vend mode in the event of a communications or server malfunction. To date, there is no known time frame by which ChargeFox will resume normal operation. Until such time, the WAV network will continue to provide full service to all EV owners in free vend mode. And that was this week's news. Indeed it was, and once again, welcome to Tokwa's Ask Us Anything. The great thing about recording news is it often becomes out of date very quickly, and a mere 45 minutes ago, ChargeFox thankfully announced that the Telstra-induced outage was resolved, and had a quick look on the ChargeFox app, and all the WEV network chargers have gone off free vend now and are back into normal operation. But I think, and actually, just to carry that theme on just a little bit longer before the introductions, it's a great testament to the WEV network, well, basically its design, that it actually does go into free vend mode when there is something like a communications or server problem. There were quite a few people in the eastern states where free vend was not mandated by the station owners, and those people were basically left, effectively stranded, at least as far as fast DC charging goes. So big shout out to Synergy and Horizon Power, and to a lesser extent the WA state government for the funding of the WEV network, and it's just an example of some of its resilience under some dire circumstances. Alrighty, so as is customary every week, usually just to elicit a pregnant pause, if there is anyone who is new and is happy to say hello and introduce themselves, please unmute now and say hello.
G'day. I've just become a new owner today.
Congratulations, Shannon. Tell us about your car.
I just picked up a Model 3 Stealth Grey, just a rear-wheel drive. Finally got hold of it today.
Fantastic. That's basically what my son got a few weeks ago. So how long ago had you ordered the car?
Ordered back in the 1st of March. I've been waiting a few months.
Awesome. But no doubt after getting it today, the entirety of the waiting was more than worth it.
Yeah, it's definitely a nice car to drive. I think we're fighting the wife whether she wants to keep it or I'm going to be driving it now.
Well, many wise people have said that once you get a one Tesla family, it's only a matter of time before you get into a two Tesla and counting family.
That
So
could be the case.
feel free to, covet another Tesla, and the great thing is the $3,500 state government rebate, which you will qualify for. So do make sure the EV rebate, do make sure you apply for it.
Yes, my wife's got the paperwork there. We're just going to lodge it. I think she's already lodging it now, I think.
Fantastic. The great news is for anyone who is thinking about possibly getting a first Tesla or another Tesla, is that rebate can still be applied for and will be granted on compliant cars all the way up to midnight on the 10th of March next year. So you don't have to worry about any caps in numbers. It's simply a deadline date. And to comply, you just need to have had the car delivered prior to that date, and for the application to be made prior to that date. But once again, congratulations, Shannon. And obviously, if you've got any questions whatsoever, once we finish doing some intros, please ask them. And as I usually say every week, there's no such thing as a silly question. All of us, even prosumers, have at one stage known very little about these awesome cars.
Will do.
Alrighty, so let's see if we can get a second one. Is there anyone else who is new and would like to say hello after unmuting themselves? Perhaps a bit later. Okay. Um, who would like to open or start with some opening questions or comments?
Just a real quick one, Harold. As per last week, the Tokwa electric go-karts event coming up on the 7th of July. Keep an eye out for an email. Tokwa members will get a $20 discount. Incidentally, a annual Tokwa membership costs just $20. So, yeah, you'll get all your money back and all your value just in one event. So keep an eye out for that email. Should be coming out soon.
It actually went out this afternoon at lunchtime, roughly. So everyone should,
okay.
all our financial members and some lapsed members actually, but everyone on our email list will have gotten that. I think, well, someone else, perhaps you, Pete, can just duplicate that and post it into Facebook so that our Facebook members can see it as well. And just to be clear, when you go to the trial bookings, sorry, Pete, just to be clear, when you go to the trial booking site, you'll see two price points. One is clearly marked for Tokwa financial members. And as Pete alluded to, what that means is that you are a current financial member whereby you have sometime within the last 12 months paid a $20 annual membership fee. And then you can, like Pete said, get the go-kart event for $53, whereas non-financial Tokwa members can get it for $73. Bear in mind that we will be checking for membership status once all the tickets have gone out.
And this is the fourth year that we're running this event. In the prior 3 years, it's been sold out each time. So, yeah, it's done on a first come, best served basis. And I'm not sure if we mentioned, but yeah, no refunds within a week of the event. We've had some people that in prior years have taken out 6 or 8 tickets and then asked for refunds a couple of days before the event. So you can't just hog the tickets. Yeah, there won't be any refunds within the last week of the event.
Alrighty, very good. All right, have we got any questions or comments?
Interesting news article. Well, I think it's interesting. Aldi decided to go into insurance for housing, cars, and things like that. And I note it's underwritten by RACQ. So it'll be interesting to see the end result of that and see how they compare with the existing players, especially in WA. Being underwritten by RACQ, I'm not sure how that'll run, but it'll be interesting to see. Be good.
So that's available in WA, is it, Peter?
It was on the news tonight, so I assume it is.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, interesting.
So, interesting.
I think you needed Harold.
Can I ask a question? I've done the last 2 downloads, the 14.8 and 14.9, and it may be unconnected, but TAC has stopped working and I've lost LTE as well, the phone connection. I'm confused. Where is all this gone suddenly? Have I
Okay, so when you say you've lost LTE, so does that mean you don't get any map updates or you can't see anything on the map when you're driving?
The map, yeah, the map works.
Okay, so with LTE,
the map works. Yep.
The LTE symbol isn't always visible on the main screen. So if you just tap the
All right.
car icon on the lower right-hand corner, that will then usually bring up not just all the menu items, but also in the upper right-hand corner, it'll bring up your LTE symbol. So just check that it's just not a visual thing that they've deleted the icon or changed its behavior. So what was the other thing you mentioned, John? Oh, TAC,
Well,
traffic aware cruise control.
TAC has
So
disappeared.
okay, so of course it only appears while you're driving on a road that is suitable for cruise control, because it needs to be a marked road. I'm pretty sure it has to have some markings on it to have TAC. Sometimes check for notifications. So again, if you go into the menu item, and I think it's in the upper right-hand corner again, once you've pressed the menu button, to click onto notifications. It's like a little bell, and if there's a new notification, it sometimes has a red dot under it, to make sure that you don't have a message such as one of your autopilot cameras is blinded or temporarily unavailable, because that can also affect things like traffic aware cruise control. The other thing too is, can you use autopilot? Is that available?
No. Well, no, that's not available either. No.
Okay.
John,
Taking this, Pete, the other thing too is just check in the menu item again under autopilot, just to make sure that it's actually enabled, because it might have, with a software update, by some weird way, have defaulted to being turned off or being disabled in the menu. So just do that check. Failing that, if you're still
I've
not
done both
happy,
that.
Yep, sorry, we must have a bit of a long delay. Failing that, just put in a service request, and in the request, you can look through the menu items for service and just describe your concern.
Okay.
John, you can try just doing a reset, so holding down the two scroll wheels on the steering wheel. But whenever you do a software update or you reset the screen by holding down the two scroll wheels, the two last things to come back on, so the screen will be the first thing that comes back on, but the two last things that will come back will be things like TAC and autopilot, and the very last thing will be your comms, so your LTE and your Wi-Fi, etc. So when you checked whether it was working, was it literally straight after the update finished, or did you give it a few minutes, or did it persist even sort of 10-15 minutes after the update? Or
I did the 14.8 update about 3 days ago, and didn't use the car that day, so there would have been at least 24 hours before I used the car.
Gotcha.
That wasn't available then, and wasn't.
So maybe just try a reset. That has worked before when people have had a similar issue. So try that, and if that doesn't work, as Harold said, just log a service request in on your app, and you may find that you don't actually have to take the car in. The service centre in Osborne Park will be able to log in remotely, and they might even fix it overnight without even you knowing.
I'm in Albany. I never go to Perth. No reason to go to Perth. I don't want to do that.
No, but John, as Pete said, it's possible that you can Sorry, John.
I have done a reset. Yeah, that my internet seems to be running very slow.
Okay, so just one thing that Pete did say is, when you log a service request, it's not necessarily the case that you will have to take your car anywhere. Tesla may quite well be able to resolve it online, so remotely. So just if everything you've tried or try subsequently doesn't work, put in the request, because you may find that, as Pete alluded to, it will magically start working once someone logs into your car and possibly performs a more in-depth reset. So that's the best way to approach it.
Yeah, okay, that's good. I have reset the computer and tried a few things, but anyway, as you say, there'll be the first time I asked for a service request, so that's another learning experience.
Absolutely. And just quickly, are you on Sky Muster, John? By any chance?
No,
Oh, okay, no worries. Because the delay is really long, and I thought you might have been going via the long way on satellite, but that's cool. Okay,
no.
Paul, you've got your hand up, and Huffies, you've got your hand up as well. So I'll throw to Paul and
Okay.
then Huffies.
Cool. Just a quick one. You know, with the ZEV rebate, it's the 10th of May that it's actually closed. It's not March.
Oh, sorry, is it May?
It said March.
Oh,
It's May.
apologies.
Yeah. I think
That's
they might have increased that when they took the cap off.
That's not how I remember it, Paul. So, sorry, James, can you please have a look? I'm pretty sure that
It's on
the
the
only thing that was
website.
altered was the cap, not the date. 10th of May. Well, there you go. Awesome. I will take that
10th
as
of
10th of May then. Even better news.
Yeah.
So that's nearly a year's time.
Yeah. Oh, it's gospel. Yeah. And is it 4:30 our time on Friday? The shareholder meeting as well. You know, the Tesla shareholder meeting. Oh no, that's next week, isn't it?
13th.
That's on the 13th.
That's next week. That's next week. Yeah. Don't worry about it. Still vote your
I'm
shares.
not going to.
That's me.
I can't vote my shares, but we've already gone through that. All right. Sorry. All right. Another question.
Was it? Yeah. What?
Oh, Huffies. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi.
Yeah.
Harold, I was just checking. I'm sure that it may be a really silly and stupid question, but when you're driving on like unlit highways, particularly Great Eastern Highway, after dark, after about maybe 10, 15 kilometers, I get the notification that one or more pillar cameras are blocked. That's probably normal. I presume you guys would have all
Yes.
experienced that.
Yes. So,
Hey mate, how you going?
Not too bad yourself.
sorry, Jared, you're
No,
anyway.
it was James. He's muted and stuff.
Okay, cool. Yes, that is relatively normal. What can happen, I've found it in all sorts of weird places, when you've got sort of like poor lighting or low lighting, and sometimes like a plain background. So it happened to me outside of Carnarvon on a like just Spinifex field of Spinifex, and that it just had a notification. I think it's like the car thinks there's something wrong with the camera because it can't really discern anything significant, and it kind of sin bins the camera, or it treats it like it might be suspect, and then later on, when lighting conditions change, it then sort of comes back into full operation. What would usually happen is the only thing that might be affected is semi-automatic lane changing because it needs to see the sides of the car. But things like cruise control and autopilot should work perfectly normally.
That's right. Yeah, autopilot works fine. Yeah. If there are other questions that
Yeah, I've had the same
Oh.
thing out in the middle of nowhere as well. Matrix headlights keep working, everything else works. It's just the side cameras often because it thinks they're blind because it's dark.
And
I'm sorry, I just
sometimes
Oh,
I've
sorry.
had that with the sunlight directly on it. The camera stops working when it's too blinded.
Absolutely.
thank you guys. Thanks.
All right. Any other questions at this early part of the program?
I was just gonna ask another question or a
Absolutely.
comment, guys. I'm not sure. I'm probably so just not related to the Tesla directly, but I don't know how many of you have three-phase type 2 chargers, battery and solar at home. I'm sure a lot of you have, but I've had a recent issue where unfortunately the battery installation was done slightly without actually informing Western Power about the three-phase charger. and now I'm trying to rectify it. But what's happening is the main circuit board at my meter is only 32 amps, and when sometimes when there's a top up happening from the grid to my battery, which is single phase, and the car is charging, it trips the MCB, and I'm trying to rectify it. I'm sure this has been discussed before or someone has raised it, but I just wanted to.
Okay, so you've got 3 phases going to the house?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay, so, and your battery only tops up between 9 and 3 p.m.?
That's correct.
Okay, so I guess the easiest way does the battery top up at a certain time in that span, or would it happen at a random time? Does it start charging itself at 9, or does it start charging itself at 12?
I can set it to charge at any time, but obviously
Yep.
9 to 3 is when we get the best rate. So I've just set it at that.
So how big's your battery? 13
kilowatts.
13. Okay. And how much energy can it? Oh, and it's single phase. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Sounds like
how
it's
much
a
power
powerwall.
does it draw?
Oh,
The inverter.
so I think
What's the size of the inverter?
I think it's I think it is a 5 kilowatt inverter.
Okay. So in which case you can change your schedule so that you tell the battery to fill up, say from 1:30 p.m. That'll give it an hour and a half. Sorry. Do it at 12:30. So that'll give it 2.5 hours to fill up. And then just don't charge your car any later than 12:30.
Absolutely.
So charge your car, say, at 9 a.m.
Yeah.
And even if your car's pretty flat, if you're on 3 phase, my other suggestion would have been to get the electrician to change it so that you operate the wall connector on single phase and pick another phase, but that's going to introduce some other issues.
Yeah.
The simplest is
it's sort of like a really odd problem, because the issue only comes to light when I charge the car during the day on Saturdays and Sundays, because I'm not at home during the day on weekdays, so it never becomes an issue. And it took me a while to recognize that was the issue. But they're trying to ask Western Power if they can upgrade the MCB to a 40 amp one, but they're pretty sure that Western Power is going to turn it down. So I'm probably going to be stuck with the problem.
Yeah, so the other thing you can do too is reduce your rate of charge from 16 amps, 3 phase, down to say 10 amps, 3 phase.
Yeah.
And then that will also alleviate it. But the easiest is just tell your car to start charging at 9 a.m. Or, so that way, by the time it gets to lunchtime, it would already be pretty much full.
Enough.
Yeah, it'll be enough.
Yeah. Thank you.
No worries. Alrighty. Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, I've got one.
Yes, Craig.
Two actually, so I snuck an extra one in there. Thanks to Ken Taylor today, I sent a screenshot of what I thought was a bug with the last update, which was grey blobs when I was parking the car. Turns out it's a feature, not a bug. Tesla Vision Assist apparently. So I've got Autopilot enabled car, but I haven't paid for Autopilot. So I've got Auto Steer in beta, but that's all. So I don't have self parking and all that stuff. But yeah, apparently that's a feature, Vision Assist. So there you go. So thanks, Ken, for a quick response. Second question kind of relates to the previous thing about power walls. I heard today I've got 3 phase at the house and a charger, and I was wondering about power wall 3 phase. Has anyone heard?
Does not
if
exist
and when
yet.
that's coming? No,
Does
but
not
coming,
exist
right?
yet. No idea when. Tesla promised it back in 2019, and there's just no news as to when that's going to come.
There was, Harold, at that meeting that Tesla did in Osborne Park, they did mention, the lady from Tesla Energy, mentioned in the last quarter of 2023 that they will Powerwall 3. Now, whether it's a 3 phase or single phase, she didn't say because she presumably couldn't say.
So did you say the last quarter of 2023?
Sorry, last quarter of 2024. Sorry,
Okay,
this year. So, but yeah, it sounds like it'll be more like November or December. So towards the end of the year. But yeah, and she couldn't give any other details. She couldn't tell us any specifications. Couldn't say whether it's single, three-phase. Couldn't say anything. But
well, therein goes my original point. Back in 2019, in headquarters, in Tesla headquarters in Los Angeles, they actually said they were working on it then. This is 4 years ago, three-phase, because they were aware of the Australian and European ponderance of three-phase, and they said they were working on it and it was coming out soon. So like you're saying, Powerwall 3 is definitely coming out, but we just don't know whether it's going to have a three-phase inverter on board.
Correct.
We still don't know that yet. Tesla has not given any hints that that's going to be a thing.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. Now getting back to
you
your
would think.
Go, Pete.
I was just going to say, you would think that if it was coming out in three-phase, they would have flagged it already to prevent people from ordering three-phase batteries now, because they don't, if you don't have a product.
See you next week.
If you don't have a product, it makes sense to announce it early. But if you've already got that same product, you obviously don't want to announce it too early to prevent Osborning. But if you don't have that product, if it was coming as a three-phase version, you think they would have announced it or let it leak out by this point. But yeah, could be, could be wrong.
Indeed. Now, just circling back, since Vision Assist was mentioned just a few moments ago, just be careful with Vision Assist. This is looking into the sun. It's a little bit hard to see what this thing is here, although I do know what it is. It's actually a concrete block. So I approached this concrete block slowly with Vision Assist, and all it shows is a blob. And I came up right close to it, and it still did not tell me to stop. Had I driven another meter, I would have touched the concrete block, so to speak. So just be aware. Sorry, just be aware. Sorry, did everyone see that?
Yep.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, just be aware. The Vision Assist is awesome, but it's just vision, and it's subject to glare and other things. So, like I said, that's basically what it looked like through my windscreen. And the car, even though it did show it as something, it showed it as something low and something that you could go across, and didn't give any warning of actually, not going there. So don't use it as the gospel of if it doesn't tell you to stop, doesn't necessarily mean that you shouldn't stop. So please just be aware of its limitations, just like our own eyes.
Do you have to turn on Vision Assist?
No. So I believe that the new cars being delivered now, that's the standard. Cars that have ultrasonic sensors, so you've got the little sensors on the front and rear bumpers, you have an option of choosing Vision Assist, which then turns off the ultrasonics. And while you're going at slow speed, the only parking assist or threat assist or detection is vision, if you turn it on. But you can revert back to the other system, which is using the ultrasonic sensors. Or cars that have ultrasonic sensors. Alrighty. Oh, sorry, James, you got your hand up. Oh, you're muted. Sorry, James.
Had it on mute when, sorry about that. I burst in with a family came in. Question about getting a tow bar fitted to a Tesla. I've said tow link in Wangara. But what else do you need to tell the guy about?
Which Tesla is it? A Model 3?
Model 3. Model 3.
Okay.
Has anyone had their Model 3 fitted with the tow bar?
I have in Wangara at Towlink, like James said, and they were very good.
Yeah, I think James asked, is there anything else that you need to know about to do with getting the tow bar fitted?
Yeah, well, obviously, unless I think there's another device that you can get now, I don't have it. But obviously, if you're reversing, you'll get all the usual beeps and warnings because the car thinks it's reversing into the trailer. So with the Model Y, there's a trailer mode, so it doesn't do that. But the Model 3 wasn't really designed for towing. So yeah, you don't have that override on the screen. There's also a couple of different tow bars. There's the Stealth version, and there's also another one. So yeah, do your research, go on the internet, have a look and see which one you prefer. I'm not sure if totally for the Model 3, yeah.
Yeah, and your Model 3 should be good for 1 ton, providing there's trailer brakes, or 750 kilos without trailer brakes.
Yep. I think it's limited to 500 kilos if you've got a performance. I think that's got to do with the lower profile wheels. But yeah, 750 and a ton for everything else.
Alrighty. Any questions or comments?
Yep, I've got a quick question for myself. I'm
Yes.
driving to Geraldton tomorrow. I noticed on Plugshare you were there at Jurien Bay 2 days ago.
And I'm driving back to Geraldton tomorrow, James.
All right. I'm already halfway there compared to you, so it's not so bad. Best route, Ken's recommended one, but obviously get to Jurien. What's the best way to get across to Indiaba?
Well, I had to tow a caravan, so I definitely used the best route, and that was you turn off at where the Indian Ocean Drive ends temporarily.
All right, go as far as you can. Okay.
Yeah, which is the Kalimba Eniaba Road.
Yep, that is the shortest by a kilometre each, but I wasn't sure if it was the best way to go.
But the shortest way with the road closure is Lancelin. If your car will happily make it from Lancelin to Gero, which any long range car should easily do. And in fact, I routinely do it in my rear wheel drive 3. But if it's pissing with rain, that's going to be a stretch. So I tend to go Jurien instead. But if I do Jurien, I do Kalimba Road. And if I do any other day, I go Lancelin and then cut straight across. So the first road right after Lancelin, near the wind turbines, and cut across to Brand Highway, that's the quickest way. And it's always the way I do coming southbound, because it's obviously better to arrive at Lancelin with like 4%, and then you smack it in on the supercharger. Northbound, usually I go Jurien though.
And Jurien to Geraldton via that bypass route is about 226 kilometres.
Yeah.
For what it's worth,
go on.
Sorry. Oh, so just for what it's worth, I did it today. I'm in Geraldton right now. Drove up from Perth. Yeah, there you go. Did you also get a free charge on the ChargeFox thing today? Because things were out.
Yeah, until they fixed it, it was the EV was free vend. So
yeah, running a day too late for that. Annoyed now.
Yeah, now you'll have to pay for it, James.
$16 or something, I think it'll cost me.
That's right.
Exactly. Now, speaking of someone that else has charged, they've actually gone. They're a lot further away than Geraldton, or in fact anywhere in this state, and that's Rob Dean. And he sent a video back, quite a disappointing video in some respects. It's the NRMA charger site at Earl Dunda in the Northern Territory. And I'll just show you the video and then just explain what you can see.
That should be coming.
So what you can actually hear is the generator running, diesel generator. And actually, above it is 30 kilowatts of solar panels. And this was towards the latter part of the day. And Rob said that according to Plugshare, there were no other people that had checked in for a couple of days. And there was plenty of sunlight. But unfortunately, within 5 minutes of him plugging in, the generator started. So I dare say there might be an issue with charging or as in onboard battery charging, or the solar panels or something, inverter control, whatever.
Well, those shadows do look pretty long, so I wouldn't be surprised if the panels weren't generating a lot at that point.
Yeah, that's right. But the onboard battery,
getting the solar there would be pretty tight.
But the onboard battery should have been full from having a full charge that whole day. Now, something that's even more disappointing is that back in, let me just get the tweet up. Back in February this year, I actually went to that same site, and I had a quiet moan about it being, it was 3 months old, and it was set to half power, 35 kilowatts. And the NRMA actually stated that they were going to bring it up to full power in March. Unfortunately, Rob Dean has reported that as of today, it's still 35 kilowatts, which is more than 6 months into this installation, which is a little bit disappointing. And the NRMA likes to have a logo that says something like...
Going further together.
Going further together. But actually, in reality, it is going further together slowly. It's just not good, NRMA. You know, that site has been running for more than 6 months. You know, it's clearly not fit for purpose. You know, questions were asked in Parliament, a little bit of a silly question at the time, you know, how many times did the diesel generator run? And the answer at that time was never. Obviously, that's not the case now. And in 6 months, you can still not get a full rate of charge to the nameplate for a piece of equipment that costs the federal government probably many hundreds of thousands of dollars out of the many dozens of millions of dollars that the NRMA has been gifted by the federal government to introduce these fast DC chargers along our national highways. It's just not good enough. So you need to up your game, NRMA.
Should we also talk about their predatory price practices? The fact that they rolled out free charges, therefore stifling any real competition through rural areas?
That's a very good point, James. You know, one thing that Synergy and Horizon Power and the WAV network was very careful to do was to make sure that they had competitive pricing, which meant that they didn't rip off people in the regions, you know, by having exorbitantly high prices. But more importantly, they made sure that they kept their prices at roughly the industry average, so that there was still opportunity for other businesses and other organizations to come in and provide supplemental charging, which is really key. And, you know, it's interesting that we note that, you know, RACQ is coming in with insurance via Audi. The NRMA actually has purchased SGIO. So, you know, this is only my personal opinion. I think the NRMA values planting of flags around the country as part of soft marketing than it actually values the utility of these fast DC chargers. And hopefully, you know, in the fullness of time, I'll be proven wrong. But at the moment, it's just not looking fantastic. And having free charging in regions is not how you promote EVs.
Absolutely.
It just won't work.
Yep, 100%.
Alrighty.
Just quickly, I noticed they had a Starlink there on that last photo that you put up. Looked like a Starlink.
Yes, indeed. Yes, yeah. So that's probably the best bit of equipment they've got. It's a great use case. You know, Starlink is just everywhere. I think there's over
Taking a
200,000
picture.
Australian
Starlink.
subscribers.
Yeah.
Seen in Margaret River tonight.
Yeah. Also, Harold, we've got Starlink outside the caravan tonight
Yes.
in Margaret River.
Oh, look, you look at most flash caravans have got Starlink. You always know which way south is because you can see which way all the Starlinks are pointing.
Strange you should mention that. Mine's pointing south.
Strangely so. They mostly do in the southern hemisphere. All right, so we got a question. Yamon, I think.
Yeah, Yamon. So I was at the
Yamon.
Nullarbor Roadhouse last Tuesday.
Yes.
I achieved 71 kilowatts, and I was quite careful which charge station I picked. So for the last few weeks, I've been following different YouTubers that have gone there, and I'm posted on Twitter, X, and most of them lean towards the one on the left-hand side, not the one on the right-hand side. So I added about 30-40% to my Model 3 rear-wheel drive Highland, and I posted it on Plugshare. What I was able to, that's the one. What I was able to achieve.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good point. When was that? Which date was it?
Last
Sorry?
Tuesday.
Sorry, what date was
28th.
that? 28th. So you're Bluey?
Yeah.
Yeah, quick top up. Yeah, at 72 kilowatts. Yes.
Long time follower, first time caller.
Yeah. And welcome. Yeah. So unfortunately, Nullarbor is sort of working mostly okay, or it's often working okay. But so just as a reminder, so you do the right-hand one, not the left-hand one. Is that the trick?
So if you're on the dirt looking at the two charges in front of you, I used the one on the left-hand side and I posted it on Plugshare.
Yeah, so that's this one here. Yep.
Yeah, because I watched, I think was it Stan from Kangaroo Island?
Yes.
He had trouble with the right-hand side one, so I tried the left-hand side one.
Gotcha.
And he reported the same thing as well, that he was able to, he had more successful with his Polestar on the left-hand side one.
And actually, that's a good point to make. If you have plugged in and things just aren't working right, like for example, you've got very low charge levels or power going into your car, it's always worth trying to unplug from that charger if there are two separate chargers and plugging into the other one. Or
I made a note also on Plugshare that it dropped to 14 kilowatts about halfway through, and I can't remember where it was, just because I think my battery started to heat up, or there was the air conditioning, the cooling started to turn on. So there was a bit of a droop to about 14 kilowatts, and then within a minute or two, shot back up to 70 odd.
Yeah, the 14 won't be anything to do with your car. It'll
no.
It's the issue with the charger.
Yeah.
Yep. Now also,
anyway, I thought it might help.
Yeah, fantastic. And anyone who is going to Nullarbor Roadhouse, just one little note is when you actually look at it on Plugshare, please zoom in, because the pin that actually appears on top is the one on the left, which is actually the crowd-funded, it's actually partially TOCWA-funded Delta charger, which is this one. But unfortunately, what happens is people will check in on the wrong pin and take a photo of the wrong area, and that just becomes a little bit confusing. So one little pro tip is when you are looking at a map, please zoom in before clicking, because sometimes, particularly in Lanceland, for example, Lanceland has a supercharger pin and a WAV network pin, although they're exceedingly close together. So just pro tip, zoom in on your Plugshare app before you actually select the pin. Oh, and also, the other reason too is sometimes you'll get a green pin that is covering up the orange pin underneath. Now the green pin is for AC charging, the orange pin is for DC charging, and DC charging is almost always faster than the AC charging.
Yeah, perhaps a pro tip for the Plugshare developers that are watching, it's not really very hard to code it so that the pins don't cover one another up, but not that I'm volunteering.
That's well, put it this way, then its own. Is it correct that business is now owned by Rivian? I think, or was that something else? It's a rather large organisation, Plugshare.
A
That
better
is
route planner.
better route planner.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So, but in any case, Plugshare makes money out of all us users. They are basically commodifying information and making money out of it. So they should invest some of that profit into making their platform a bit nicer to use.
EVgo owns Plugshare now.
EVgo.
Yeah,
that's
big
the one.
charger in the US.
Yeah.
In fact, I was going to show a screenshot. This is something else. I think I've mentioned this before, but what some people are unfortunately doing with Plugshare is they're trying to use it to do some social engineering. I happen to be at Curtin University charging at the tritium charger, and I think I had indicated 15 minutes left to go. I then see that someone checks in with a blue pin saying they're waiting, except they weren't waiting where I was, they were waiting somewhere else. And I surmise they did that so that they may hope that if someone saw that, they may think, oh, there's someone charging now, there's someone there waiting, I might as well not bother going there because, I'll have to wait too long. Well, this person continued to wait, and I actually stayed another 15 minutes over that time because there was no one else there, and that guy didn't show up. So unfortunately, there are some people that bang on that you have to use Plugshare. It's almost like a prerequisite to use any free site. You have to plug in Plugshare. Some people are using it as a bit of a manipulation technique. So, for example, if you see someone waiting in Plugshare, just have a look anyway, because there's a chance that they might not actually even be there. So don't let that put you off. And also
Actually, don't. So finish what you're saying, Harold.
Oh, so don't also be put off by people that insist or get frustrated at you because you haven't put in a post on Plugshare saying that you're charging now. Plugshare is no different to any other social media. It has its uses for some information updating, which can be useful, but please don't feel obliged that you must use it. The charges that you're using are not controlled by Plugshare. They don't have any interaction with Plugshare. So please don't be bullied by some people being frustrated that they arrive while you're there and you haven't checked into Plugshare. But by all means, use it as much and as little as you're comfortable with. But it's certainly not something that's mandated.
Now, speaking of not being put off or being put off, and deplorable behaviour when it comes to EV charging, one of the new sites, the one in Kewdale near the airport, apparently there was a gentleman in a Polestar that decided to relieve himself next to the charger, number 2 style. So he's been captured on camera. The owner has actually, I probably won't go into it any further, but yeah, he's had the audacity to keep coming back and using that charger. But yeah, so yeah, you get all sorts. Yeah,
indeed. So please be nice at charging locations. Either behave nicely or be respectful of other EV owners, and don't be frustrated that you can't get your free juice right this moment when you want to, because to be perfectly blunt and honest, the sooner all free charging stations are removed and a reasonable cost fee is put on, cost recovery fee is placed on those charges, suddenly your urge, or not necessarily you, but other people's urge to use it as often as possible will very rapidly abate. And you'll do what most people should. They will do what most people do, which is charge at home, where all good charging should happen.
Well, just remember the ABCs, and one of those ABCs is always be courteous. So,
yep. Alrighty. And also the thing too is, people will say, well, why didn't you check in? the fact is you could literally have reversed into the bay, plugged in the nozzle, and you're about to reach for your phone to check in when someone can literally just go around the corner and see you. And they will be no less frustrated if they just see a check-in just there and then. So yeah, once again, just be you. You know, use it as little or often as you like, and yeah, just be courteous. And remember, it's free juice, which by definition is not infinitely sustainable. And it's not the reason why you bought an EV in the first place either, because it doesn't make sense to spend $70,000 to get a few $100s a year free fuel. Alrighty, any other questions or comments?
What's
Actually, I
happening
did
with
have
Elon?
Sorry.
What's the latest with Elon?
Oh, Elon Watch. I don't know. I don't think Elon's done anything unusual lately.
nothing bad.
No. I mean, we're obviously everyone's waiting for the shareholder meeting on the 13th of June, which I presume will be the 14th of June, our time, Perth time, to see the two results. One which is hopefully going to be positive, which is a reiteration of Elon Musk's 2018 CEO compensation plan, which was previously voted in favour for by the majority of shareholders and subsequently struck down by the Court of Chancery in Delaware. The other thing, which is a lot less, which most people are a lot less optimistic about, is the proposal to move Tesla's place of where they are domiciled out of Delaware into Texas. The problem with that is, so firstly, with the share compensation plan, it requires a majority of shareholders that vote to approve. So if you don't vote, that vote is not counted either way, and it's only a majority of shareholders that vote that will determine whether or not the share compensation plan is simply reiterated. Now, again, it doesn't mean it's going to actually then be allowed by the court in Delaware. There could be another court case, and it would be the same judge that did the previous judgment and could simply say someone like Elon Musk does not deserve $50 billion just because he made all the other shareholders richer by $500 billion. So that's still up for argument. The thing that's less positive is to move their place of their domiciled state. If you do not vote or cannot vote, that is actually counted as a no. And you need a majority of all outstanding shareholders or shares to actually have that be passed. So that means if you don't vote, that's the same as a no vote. So obviously that's a much higher hurdle to come across.
And with that one, can Elon vote for that one? I know for his own package, but
I
that one?
heard that he can't vote on that one because he had made a statement on X that's after the judgment, the adverse judgment against the share compensation plan. He had stated that Tesla will move to move its place of origin out of Delaware, or immediately out of Delaware into Texas. And I think that's caused his vote to not be able to be counted.
Okay.
But he only owns about 13% of Tesla, I think, these days. So it's not as bad. Oh, and I think Kimball Musk is in the same situation. So it's not as big a slice as it otherwise would have been prior to the Twitter purchase, but still, it's a gap. So it's going to be very.
There is I read a report by Robert Rich, and it's pretty awful. Have you seen it?
No.
Okay.
There's a lot of pretty awful stuff out there.
Yeah.
A lot of it pretty awfully inaccurate as well.
Well, this
pretty
guy
biased too.
Yeah, he's It's written that Elon Musk and Trump have been meeting and
That's a
strategizing,
lie.
that they're similar and blah, 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 which sounds odd.
Well,
it
Elon
probably
That's a
is
lie.
because don't forget Elon Musk actually resigned from when Trump was president, and he was on a board. He was an advisor to Trump amongst many others. And when Trump announced that the US was pulling out of the Paris Agreement, Elon Musk resigned immediately. So I don't know. I mean, none of us here knows what really goes on. And I dare say, business people deal with politicians of every color because ultimately, no matter what anyone wants, it seems that Joe Biden in America, and without getting political, Joe Biden in America is the presumptive Democrat. Sorry, is probably the actual Democrat candidate for the election. And Trump so far is the presumptive Republican candidate. So one of those two, unless one of them dies in the meantime, or both of them, one of those will become president by one way or another. So it would be sensible of Musk or other prominent business people to interact with both sides of politics, really.
But in regards to what you were
Elon
saying,
actually, I'll just quick. Elon actually did refute that report. He said he's not in talks with him or anything like that. They were out at the same sort of function or something, but he didn't even really talk to him. So it's all like you're in the same room as someone else.
Fox News was reporting that Musk was offered a position as advisor for illegal aliens, as they call them, so immigration, borders advisor, and something else. And so they reported that he was offered the position and he accepted it. And Elon Musk to that tweeted out and said there was no agreement and there was no conversation to that effect whatsoever.
This is pretty defamatory, and they're quoting according to the Wall Street Journal. So it's not, it's pretty.
Wall Street Journal's the same.
Yeah.
Wall Street Journal, Business Insider, Bloomberg. Don't believe any of their stuff. They always do hit pieces on Elon. It's all, you got to look into the motivation of people.
He should do something about it. It's pretty bad.
Oh, you can't when you're that prominent. You're sort of you can't really. You're so prominent and so divisive, or half the people love you, half the people hate you, or whatever. If I tried to sue everyone that defamed them, like politicians, you just wouldn't get anywhere. The courts would be half the GDP of the country. So it's Alrighty, we've got any questions about Tesla cars or anything similar?
Oh, with the last update, when I put it on dog mode, the fan speed's really, really low now. So I was wondering if anyone else had the same thing, because I was going, if it was summer, I'd be very worried about my dog, because I put it on and it was like 2 or 3, like the fan speed.
I thought it just worked on the temperature.
Yeah, because I set the temperature, and and normally I have mine on manual, and it was normally at 6, and then when I got back to the car, it was at 3, and I was like, "Whoa, that's not good."
So is that on manual? So you keep your aircon on manual, Paul?
Yeah, manual reset.
Yeah, right.
Stuff. So then it's 20.5 degrees all year round. Beautiful. I don't.
Yeah, right. Well,
because when I had it on auto, I had issues. Like it would, would be the same temp, and it wouldn't feel quite right. So I found manual worked in my car. I suppose it's the classic.
I guess you'd have to do the experiment to see what it would do in auto. I had heard somewhere that I don't think it's the current update we've got. I think it's 2024.20 something, I think, or is it .8.20, that there were some minor improvements with the HVAC, that the fan speeds were lower and it would also get to temperature quicker. But I don't think that's in any of our cars in Australia yet. So, don't know. We'll have to take that one on notice, Paul. See how it goes
Okay.
on a hotter day or how it performs. But did your
No
did your
worries.
car stay on 3 after you got out of dog mode, or did it go back to
Yeah.
6 in your
No.
manual?
Yeah.
Right.
When I took it, and then I was like, hey, I was going, oh, this feels weird. And then I looked and it was like, hey, it's 3. So I put it back up to 6, and it was fine.
Cool.
So maybe I'll
One bit of
test it
news.
tomorrow without the dog.
Yeah,
Sorry, go.
absolutely. One bit of news is that Synergy announced the end of their Symphony program, which was basically an effort to do a study into orchestrating various DER, distributed energy resources such as solar and wind and battery storage. And they've basically written their final closing report, and they have some recommendations. I just thought, out of interest, which might be of some interest to some of us, one of their recommendations was to develop incentives to accelerate the take-up of energy storage, which obviously goes without saying, bring forward power system and decarbonisation benefits, which also goes without saying. Bit more worrying is mandating the adoption of AS 4755 demand response standards by OEMs to enable greater interoperability of air conditioners for load management by aggregators. This is something that actually has been proven by the CSIRO to not work and actually be counterproductive. So, which is whereby it may become mandated for certain air conditioner systems being installed, new ones, that they need to be susceptible to demand response signals, such as you've got to move your set point from 21 degrees, if that's the way you like it, to 24 or 25, or they run the compressor on half duty cycle or reduced duty cycle. So that's possibly an interesting thing that might happen in the future. But absolutely, having battery storage and having that be possibly incentivized in some way is a very positive thing, particularly since most of us are driving around in some rather large mobile battery storage devices. It could be a positive development. Alrighty. Any other questions, especially even just basic ones about your car, how you use it?
Pick me.
Yes, Michelle. Go, Michelle.
Oh, I don't know.
Go, Michelle.
They were talking the other day on here, you guys were, about a website with, I don't know, dorky commands for your Tesla, voice commands.
Yes.
Bring a friend about it who's just bought a Tesla, and he said to me, "Oh, tell me the website," and I can't remember what it was.
It was not a Tesla app.
Tesla app.
Something like that. Let me see. Not a.
There's actually a few of them. If you just Google, or even if you type into one of the AIs, a list of Tesla commands.
Oh, yeah.
There's quite a few different ones that come up.
Okay, so it's not a teslaapp.com/Tesla-Easter-eggs.
Oh, okay.
Now, voice commands to the right of that, Harold.
And voice commands, sorry.
Oh, yeah.
And there are all your voice commands. And, there's all the, call it humor ones, such as open butthole and stuff like that.
Yep. This guy has kids. They need to know this.
Very good. Very good. Search Google for X, and that opens the browser. That would only work if you're parked, because in Australia we can't have the internet browser running while we're driving.
Cool. Thank you.
Oh, actually, I've got a question. Has anyone tried to play YouTube games in their car? Because I know that's a thing in some jurisdictions, but I don't know if that includes Australia. So apparently under YouTube, you can go into the menu and go into the games section. And then if it's available in Australia, there'll be a section that is downloadable or online playable games, which will sort of add to the enjoyment. Actually, Paul, you're in the car. Can you please have a look
Yeah.
at?
The latest update is doing it as we speak.
Are you doing an update? Of course you are. Good job.
I was sitting in the car and it went update. Well, oh yeah, I'm here.
All right.
Probably 10 minutes.
Yeah,
I'll
no
try
worries.
that then. I'll let you know.
Yeah, we'll take that. My question on notice then.
Speaking of update, in the latest update, there's another improvement to automatic high beams, the adaptive high beams. So now it takes into account when you're taking a turn, so curves in the road, takes that into account. And if you're on a highway, it will make the lights brighter so you can see further ahead.
Nice.
All good, because the brighter the better, really.
Yep.
And one thing now that adaptive high beams have sort of killed off a little bit or made it harder to use are things like LED light bars, because the high beams now no longer turn off. They simply adjust their pixels to shadow out oncoming cars. So it means that even if you went and bought the expensive Norwegian CAN bus LED light bar interface, it's not going to work anymore, unfortunately, and you'll have to go back to manual LED light bar high beam control. So it's great that they can try and maybe make the pixels just a bit brighter.
I had my first experience of adaptive high beams on the way home this evening, actually, and they had a bit of a freak out when they got to the end of the road. You know how you have those stripy black and white signs. Yeah, there's a T junction on the way that's there's no street lighting or nothing like that, and as you drive up to it, the reflection off it's quite bright, and it couldn't work out whether to be high or low or high or low or high or low or high or low. My poor neighbour might get epilepsy.
Yeah, absolutely. It does some funny things in built up areas. It will see parked cars on the side of the road, and for a while decide that it ought to turn off those pixels, and then it changes its mind back to say, oh, actually I can turn them back on, and then, like you say, Shane, and then it will turn them off again. And yeah, anyway. But look, it's still a great thing, you know, especially in the country. If you've got someone who's got high beams on, at least it'll shine your high beams to the left side of the road, which can always be useful, because, you know, you always got that danger zone when you've got oncoming cars and you've got your car on low beam. It's always difficult.
Or oncoming echidnas.
Yeah, it's just as well I didn't. Yeah, anyway.
I've joined a bit late. Did you share your story?
I didn't even share that story. I haven't got the photos ready, and I haven't got the footage off what's the name yet. But
it sounds like a news story to me.
It ought to be, because it's a pretty rare event, I'm certain.
I think it is.
But maybe I'll put on a TikTok channel or something. Now, obviously, we've got one little bit of exciting news to come up is that the synergy part of the WEV network is rapidly coming to a conclusion. So the only outstanding locations we have now, since we had Brookton up and running last week, the only ones that are outstanding is Calbarry, Ravensthorpe, and Northam. So they are the only three outstanding Synergy WEV network fast DC chargers that need to be bought online. That's obviously not to say that Horizon Power obviously have a lot of sites, particularly in the north and in the east towards the Nullarbor, that need to come online. But as far as Synergy is concerned, their part of the network is almost complete, which is a very good thing. So so that's something that, you know, anywhere, say south, in fact, you can drive now to Carnarvon fully unfettered and not have to worry about range or even excessively charging your car. And you can go all the way to, you will be able to go all the way to Esperance in the same fashion very soon. So basically this thing that we were waiting many years for is almost done, at least in the southwest of WA. All right, any other questions or comments?
Just a quick one. I believe in these States they've had the Cybertruck. Have you heard anything about when we might get it over here?
No, but we
That's
do
the display
know,
model.
yes, but we don't know when, but we have absolute confirmation officially from Tesla that it is coming to Perth. We just
Brilliant.
don't know when. I think the next, what was the next destination? Was that Melbourne? I think it
Melbourne and
was.
Queensland were mentioned in one of the things I was looking up.
Melbourne.
I thought there was an event already for some place in Melbourne, I think, for the Cybertruck. Although maybe I'm second guessing myself. I did see an event, but it is definitely, so Mark, we don't know when, and to be honest, I don't even know if Tesla really knows when, but it is all but certain that it's coming to Perth, notwithstanding someone writes it off or some disastrous incident, but it is that Tesla does intend to bring it to Perth.
That's brilliant. That's what I wasn't sure about.
And obviously it'd probably spend a similar amount of time in WA as it does in other states. So that I would assume that would mean several weeks. So everyone would have plenty of time to have a look at it. And perhaps that might even be at the new O'Connor showroom. That must be coming awfully close to completion.
Hopefully.
Will it be driven or trucked?
It'll be trucked. It's on a special license. It's been specially licensed in Queensland on a restricted license or registration, sorry. Which I don't know what the conditions are, but it's probably along the lines of, limited number of kilometers or whatever, limited, road use.
Mm.
So it's sadly not going to be driven, because I think there are many dozens of us that would not just drive it for free, we'd probably even pay Tesla to be able to drive it.
No, I get that. I just think that with all the problems we're having with deliveries and the East and all of that, they could it could hamper the details of their timing.
However, Harold,
sorry, go Steve.
Harold, for a track day, that's off-road, so it's not going to affect the number of kilometres.
Yep. Like you, I will be dreaming on, Steve, finding any reason to be able to sit in the Cybertruck. But unfortunately, look, we have, I think, Pete, it's one of your relatives that they've confirmed that you can't even sit in the Cybertruck. The doors are closed. You can touch the outside, but you cannot go inside.
That's exactly right. You can peek inside through the window, but if the tonneau covers they're closed off.
Cool. Okay, we got a hand up. Huffies, yes.
Just wondering how many of you guys have gone and test driven the Model 3 Performance?
Oh, I did this week.
I did it yesterday.
I did it this week. Oh my God, it is so good.
Did either of you nearly write it off like many others have tried to do?
No, but I drove it in the wet, and it was like, oh yeah, because my performance, so I'm all right. But the only thing that threw me was the bloody autopilot with the button on the steering wheel wouldn't engage. So it'd do tack, but then it didn't do that. And I had it on the screen for autopilot. But yeah, the seats are so comfy. The handling is so good. And if I wasn't married, then I would have one in my driveway. So I have to keep with my old performance.
if you no longer wish to be married, just go and order one, Paul. That's
I was going to say that, yeah, that's a very expensive thing. You know,
Yes.
half in the words of Eddie, or what? Half.
So how old is your performance, Paul?
It'll be 5 this
Okay.
September. Yeah,
Mm.
I love it. I'm not getting rid of it. The Cybertruck is what I'm waiting for.
I posted up
yeah.
my experience
Oh, sorry,
on
go, go.
Facebook with it as well. And
Yep.
my wife replied and said, no, walk away now. And then I realized my strategic mistake. I should have just bought it and asked for forgiveness rather than permission.
Yeah.
No, that's not good.
Just so you're
That's
getting
not
ready
good.
for the whole robo-taxi thing. more cars for
Not
your
worth
robo-taxi
it,
fleet, Pete.
But no, you're so right. Like the acceleration, I thought, look, it's 0 to 100, it's 0.2 of a second faster. That's not a huge difference. Yes, it's quite a big difference over a quarter mile. It's around 10.9 versus about 11.4, 11.5. So, but yeah, it actually, you can definitely feel that 0.2 of a second, and even from a standing start. But yeah, once you hit 30, 40 kilometers an hour, you can really feel the difference. It's amazing. But the suspension, the handling, it's very easy to make a car handle really well for the track. You just lower the car, do away with any play in the suspension, and basically the less suspension you have, the better it's going to handle on a flat track. So, without having any humps or anything. So that's easy to do. So, but this car handled fantastic, sort of left and right. But then I trialed it over speed humps as well, and it performed almost like a four-wheel drive on a speed hump, yet like a racing car, because it's got this active suspension, like a racing car when you were trying to go left and right. It's just phenomenal. The suspension was out of this world. The acceleration was out of this world, and the seats were really cool. The new seats. So yeah, I was you have high expectations going in, especially like Paul. I had my performance for over 5 years. Is it over 5 years? Not quite. Yeah. And I've got the model.
September.
Yeah, in September.
And has it got a little bit more headroom?
That's the same. I
don't think so. Yeah, I actually thought the seat might have been down a bit lower, but I compared it to the standard Highland, and I think this. So Carmen might be right. There might be a little bit more headroom. Not the car's the same shape, but the seats might be down a bit lower.
Mm-hmm.
Or there might be other.
They needed to do that. I've driven my sons, and for me it's perfect, but for most people are taller than me.
It's funny you say that, Carmen, because I was talking to a gentleman that was thinking about buying the Highland Model 3 or a Model Y, and really the price difference is only about not even $2,000 roughly. So, and I sort of suggested to this gentleman that, well, maybe, he'd want to consider a Model Y. And he actually said that the Model 3 has more headroom.
No.
And I actually tried this in my son's car. So I'm in a Model Y, and I've got the seat all the way down. Initially, when I put my hand above my head on the Model 3 Highland, it was very similar, until I realized that the seat wasn't actually at its lowest. And I could actually lower the seat like more than an inch lower. And sure enough, and this blew my mind, the Model 3 has more headroom in the front seats than the Model Y when the seats are at their lowest setting, which really, like I said, blew my mind. I could have lost $1,000 bet claiming the opposite had I not done the experiment, which is really strange. But
I can't do that, because if I do that, then I don't have a good view of the screen.
Yes, that's
So,
right. Yes.
I
Yeah.
mean, I prefer my car shape. You can tell a Y from miles away. They're different. It's chunkier,
Yes.
and it's not the original elongated sporty look. So I like mine, but I can see that for some people who are taller. But I haven't done that exercise of lowering the seat, because when I've done it for me, it's not good. Sometimes when I have my hair up, I feel like I need to have a bit more room, and but I'll have to lower the seat. But then I don't get as good a view.
Yeah, true. And you're right about the appearance. I'm just trying to get this image up.
Oh, it's a big difference. I wouldn't have a Y.
The Model Y is the Model 3 that likes cake.
No, but it doesn't look the same.
So you can, it basically looks like there's sort of, I mean, that's not the Highland, but it's a similar thing. The Y looks like the 3 has been squashed and stretched upwards. It's just like they've actually just gone upwards in the vertical direction, and it does
it
make
just
it
looks
a
chunky.
bit chunkier.
And it's
The front isn't as chunky, but yeah, the back. To be honest, the back does look a little bit.
Yes.
It's no different to the Model X looking compared to a Model S in the back. Totally agree.
Yeah. No, I think that the 3 is the classic.
Yeah. Yep. It definitely is a more aesthetically pleasing, more well proportioned car, whereas a Model Y is a more practical car, I guess.
Yep.
Yeah. For storage, for brute storage, if you've got kids, car seats, prams, all that stuff.
Yep.
Pets, dogs, the tailgate's a lot easier. I mean, that would be something.
Caravans.
Caravans, yes, indeed.
And you don't bang your head on getting in and out.
Yes, and if you're older, like I am, you don't have to stoop down to sit on your seat and things like that.
Yeah.
But
I could see that happening. The only problem that I have is the seatbelt.
Oh, that thing that Richard
Cooper.
Yes.
Chapman
Cooper
said had done.
It does work, and I have done it a few times.
He'd done that, and my wife, I got it off him and put it for Leonie, and it actually works.
Yes.
Oh, it's Richard.
Is Cooper on?
What was that?
Yeah, Cooper, not Chapman.
No, don't worry.
No, not Chapman. Cooper.
I'm trying to get
He'd done like a 3D thing to pull your seatbelt out just a little
because
bit.
it cuts me in the neck.
And down. Yeah, same thing. Leonie has the same thing. She's probably the same height.
Yeah, probably because of the height. Yeah.
And it's amazing. It actually worked. I was telling Cooper he needs to sell it.
Yes.
Good.
Yeah.
No,
he needs to do one for me.
Yeah.
Oh, Richard, if you're watching, there's a request from Carmen.
It's an order.
There's an order for you.
I can do an order.
Marketed via Tokwa.
Yes.
Yeah.
Proceeds to Tokwa.
Yes.
That's good.
That's cool.
Any other comments or questions? We're sort of 3/4 of the way through this awesome show. Obvious.
There's another improvement coming. So Tesla is apparently going to turn off the seat sensors and use the cabin camera instead, which will be good as far as, because when sometimes you put suitcases on the back seat, and unless you actually strap them in with the seatbelt or put the seatbelt in behind them, it sets off the sensors. So it's going to use the camera to see if there's people sitting in the seats or not.
Is that for rear seats as well? I thought that was only for front seats.
Oh, okay. You may be right.
No, it does happen sometimes in the back.
No. I thought the actual camera. I thought the camera thing was only for front seats.
Yep.
I'm not 100%, but that's what I thought I heard.
I've had large shopping or large items, and it does that as well.
Yeah. I had the same thing. Putting the spare wheel on the back seat definitely caused it to trip.
Yes.
My
And when you
dog,
just put it all in, you're going to start reaching across to all the gear and fastening it up. It's a pain.
yeah, my dog does the same thing. Yep.
Tell him to put his seatbelt on.
He's a
Well, that's
dingo,
what I
mate.
do.
How's he going to get all those babies?
Maybe the
I thought they were
dingo.
going to use a cabin radar to do that, Pete, but I could be mistaken. I thought that was
Because doesn't the camera have, or isn't it going to have infrared as well, so that for the robo taxi, if there's a baby sitting left in the car under a blanket or something, so you can detect.
I'm not sure. I mean, clearly, I really wish that Tesla would implement infrared. And a big shout out to Russell, who will be watching this. I really hope to bring out screaming. I really hope Tesla brings out an infrared forward-looking camera. That would be an achievement.
Yes.
That would be really good, especially for things like wildlife that are hard to see.
Yes, and baskets around trees that aren't very tall.
Yes, indeed, indeed. Oh, now there was a bit of news which is not, well, it's of some interest to us. It seems that BYD have got a fix for their Seal, which is one of their cheaper offerings. I think it's the cheaper offering, could be their more expensive offering, so that it will be able to run on the version 3 Tesla superchargers. So it's apparently a combination of a hardware fix and a software fix, where I think some hardware needs to be replaced and other hardware just needs a software update. And I think Tesla might have done something to the protocol of the superchargers as well to kind of help out. So that's good that, other EVs can use the Tesla superchargers in Australia, particularly since, it looks like BYD and Tesla are going to be great rivals in the Australian market, because thankfully in the Australian market, we don't have import duties, unlike Europe that's impending at the US.
Well, my daughter's got a BYD because they couldn't afford a Tesla, and she has used my charger. So I don't know how.
Oh, yeah, sorry. No, I mean the supercharger. This is for
Oh,
the
the super.
V3
Okay.
superchargers. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, even the Tesla destination charger, the wall connector, even the new ones, you can actually set them to either only charge Teslas if you wanted to, or charge all EVs. And any EV that where that Type 2 connector plugs into will work when it's set that way.
Oh, good.
So that's good. But it's great that Tesla are working, and also BYD are working to sort this out, because the more other cars that use superchargers, the better, because then hopefully Tesla will have more impetus to install more superchargers in different locations.
Yep.
So
For sure.
I think there's a gentleman that lives in Joondalup that has bemoaned the fact that there are no superchargers in Joondalup or at the airport. So that gentleman in particular would be quite happy if Tesla had more demand from perhaps BYD owners to have supercharging, south of Geraldton and at the airport.
Absolutely. Although we don't see that many BYDs up this far north.
It's because there's no supercharger to charge them up, Pete. See, it's if they build it, they will come.
Absolutely.
Now, tomorrow night might be an exciting bit of video footage of the 4th experimental launch of the Super Heavy and Starship, Super Heavy Booster and Starship. So I believe that window is starting the launch window is starting at 7:30 tomorrow night. So if a launch countdown is completed, the certain result will be excitement. Whether that excitement occurs within a few milliseconds of the countdown stopping, or maybe half an hour or an hour or so later, we don't really know. But that's something to look out for. It's not quite Tesla related, but it's certainly part of the Muskiverse. And
it's got to do better than NASA's doing at the moment. think they're on their third stall for it, aren't they?
That's happening right now as we speak on YouTube.
Well, there you go.
We'll see
So
what happens.
And that's after they've got people sat in it.
Yes.
Yeah. People in it.
I'd be feeling very dodgy if I were there.
indeed.
Because you've seen how old it looks as well.
Hmm.
In
Well, you see,
comparison to
see
the
when that
Dragon.
Atlas rocket was first launched, 1963, I think it was.
Yep. Well, the Soyuz
Exactly
program.
new technology.
No, well, the Russians are launching rockets that basically haven't changed since the 1960s at all. But it's very much tried and true.
Yeah, well, at least they've got their milk bottle to stand up.
This is true. And the funny thing too is, unlike NASA, who spent millions of dollars on a zero gravity pen, the Russians just said, well, why don't we just use a pencil? That definitely works in zero gravity.
Yep.
Anyway.
To answer your question, Harold, yes, you can play YouTube games in the car.
Oh, great.
Oh.
Yeah,
Well,
there you go. That'll keep you out of mischief.
That'll keep me out of
Only
mischief.
there's about
Oh, jeez.
When
the update finished, played the music. Sorry, go.
when I'm on the way to Kalbarri tomorrow, I'll be sure when I'm charging to have a sus. Absolutely. So that's great. That's great to know.
Cool.
Cool. All right. Any other questions or comments with 25 minutes to go?
Yeah, it's Mark here. I've got. We were talking about superchargers before, and I noticed that on June 4 in New South Wales, there was a bit of a thing from Tesla about version 4 superchargers being upgraded in about 5 locations. And I'm just wondering if anybody knows whether they're going to do the same thing with the earlier versions here.
Right. We've only version 4 we've only got version 3 chargers.
Yeah.
So
they've got five sites in New South Wales. So they've got Campbelltown, Blaxland, Yast, Wagga, Wollongong, and no, that's it. 5 sites, and they're doing it during June, taking the sites down and upgrading them to version 4s. So, and hence the question.
So were those sites, Mark, if you look on Plugshare, are they ones that have the version 4 stall, which is the taller white stall that doesn't have a hole through the center? Because if
the actual graphic says version 4 is coming, and actually says that they're bringing the latest version 4 superchargers to select sites in New South Wales.
Right.
But those are existing sites that they're actually upgrading to version 4s.
So did you say one was what were the sites? Campbelltown,
Blaxland, Yass, Wagga, and Wollongong.
So yes.
It says a couple. Yeah, sorry. It says a couple of sites will be upgraded. So obviously, it's some of the 5.
Let me just see. Yes, is in. Unfortunately, it's hard to find on Plugshare. Yes, here we go. Yeah, so for example, yes, by the look of it, is a version 3, right? So see how you've got the holes through the stalls? So what they're going to do is either add more stalls or possibly substitute them for version 4, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they'll have a higher than 250 kilowatt capacity, because there have been a couple of version 4 stalls fitted at sites in Australia, and they just have the version 4 stall, which is a taller, the actual lead, the cable is longer, and the stall is just solid white. There's no red actually in it. It's just got black sides. I think there's writing that says that's in red. And
I'm looking at the graphics. Someone had actually put a notification. It looks like it's Tesla in terms of the font and everything, and it's actually got a picture of the version 4. It says V4 is coming.
Yeah. So the most interesting part, which hasn't happened in Australia or even in the UK that I'm aware of is they've put the new style stalls, but they've not put the new style DC power boxes, power supplies.
Okay. Yeah.
Because the trick there is version 4, I think, can go beyond 350 kilowatts delivery, which again, most of our cars can't really take that, but it would be a good future-proofing thing. But but yeah, that's still good, Mo. That's I mean, it's progress. And look, and even if they are just the stalls, that's still progressive because it makes it easier for non-Tesla EVs to charge there without impinging on Tesla owners. Because
yeah, I was going to say the same thing.
Yeah, they have more options then. Because the cable's longer, they may not necessarily have to block out an adjacent parking spot which would then block out a Tesla from charging.
So if there's no supercharger team, who's doing this?
No, some of the
There sort of is still a supercharging team.
Right.
And it's possible that, and Tesla Australia hasn't said anything of this, but it's possible, just like has happened in the States, because thankfully Australia has much more progressive labour laws than the States, where in some parts of the States you can just sack someone just because you say so, whereas in Australia that's kind of known as unfair dismissal. So the only way Tesla could have sacked the entire supercharger team in Australia is to literally permanently close the supercharger division, and that's just something that Australia wouldn't be able to afford to do because we need more superchargers. So it's probably likely that already members of the Australian supercharger team have been reinstated, or should I say their dismissal process has been curtailed before it actually completes, I dare say.
Right.
Yeah, because I had some on LinkedIn where they're back. Some people are back who were
rehired,
linked into me. Yeah, rehired after 2 weeks or something like that. So that happened in America, and 1 week.
In Australia, you can't just instantaneously sack someone. You have to make them redundant. You have to have a reason, and just to start putting those, and you've got to give them accrued annual leave and all that sort of stuff, and it takes time, and you've got to be compliant. Fortunately, in Australia, even large companies have to be compliant with Fair Work Australia legislation, and that kind of says you can't just sack a whole lot of people just because you've had a bad day, which is what Elon Musk had, unfortunately, and basically wasn't happy with the results of the supercharger executive manager, and it's rumored that basically she was resisting Musk's request of a certain percentage of all supercharger employees be sacked. So he basically said, "Well, fine, you're all sacked," and made it so. But so it's great to hear that Australia is still progressing. I did have cause to go to the Kings Park site last week, and unfortunately, no temporary fencing has returned yet. So there's zero news about any further progress on Kings Park for the time being.
Just for info, I've put in the graphic. Just put it into the chat, just so that you've got it.
Oh, awesome! I'll bring that up in a sec. Sorry, go Pete.
Oh, one little bit of good news. So in 2023, the actual uptime of superchargers went up from 99.96% to 99.97%. So, which is amazing because there's a lot more. There's about, I don't know how many exactly, but there's a lot more superchargers. And the uptime continues to improve. I would hazard a guess that the second highest uptime would be somewhere in the 70s or 80s, which is actually really, really low, because it means that every 10 charges that you attempt, 3 out of those 10 you won't be able to charge. So, with a 70% uptime. But yeah, 99.97% doesn't get much better than that.
However, just to be fair, Tesla's criteria for uptime is, I think, a majority of the stalls have to be available.
Which is fine.
Because,
which is fine because it means you can still charge. So
yes.
it's a fair way of measuring. Because Tesla, is there any supercharger sites anywhere in the world where they have less than 3 superchargers that are open to the public? I don't think there is. So,
actually,
China, they might have
there used to be. No, there used to be. There was a place in Saint Anton in Austria, but look, it's probably been updated by now, no doubt, that had stalls that were older than we've ever seen in Australia. They didn't even have the plastic red, donut cutout. It was actually like a bent metal. It wasn't rounded. It was sort of the similar shape, but basically sort of like bent metal, super duper duper old. And that only had one power rectifier. So that meant 2 stalls. So, like Eaton, well, in fact, places like going over east, not Keith, the one after, I think Horsham, there used to be a site where it only had 2, it was on a sled actually, and it only had one power box, so that had two stalls. But you're right, Pete, there wouldn't be many sites these days have only got 2 stalls. Definitely not. I mean, now the minimum is roughly 3, such as Lancelin, and Williams, that have 3.
Whereas a lot of other networks, like that charger in Joondalup, it's a single charger. By the way, it's still the only public DC charger in the whole of Joondalup. Absolutely ridiculous. And there's 2 nozzles and one's Chathamway.
Yeah. Well, perhaps you could get some new funding from royalties for regions. Since it's in South Geraldton, you could maybe get some funding for Joondalup.
I'm going to say that before you do one in Joondalup, maybe you should do one out this way, out sort of towards 2J Way. And the reason I say that, because I've noticed a lot more EVs on the road out this way of late. So this morning I did a count of EVs to regular cars just on the drive down the hill in the morning, and it was 15-1.
Wow.
And there's some pretty old cars. So there was a lot more than I thought there was going to be. So I'm going to keep that little stat up and see how that goes. But some days I reckon it'll be more like 5 or 10-1. There's a lot of cars, a lot of EVs. I think because people out this way do a lot of Ks, and the finance stacks up really fast.
The thing is, everyone there can charge at home, whereas in Joondalup there's a lot of apartments.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, there's people that just can't have an EV because they live in Joondalup. Their strata company won't put chargers in, and they've got nowhere to charge. So,
yeah. I saw a really nice idea. Some on the Driven, I think maybe they were putting chargers into light poles, like lamp posts, street posts, and I was like, makes perfect sense.
There's some funding from the New South Wales government. I thought it was about 270 curbside charging points.
Yeah.
The only thing is frustrating that they aren't actually light pole chargers. They are just ground mounted. So they're not taking that extra step of putting an EVSE in the light pole, which is a perfect place for it to be. Because, if you're charging a car overnight where it's parked, basically, it doesn't have to be high power. So it could virtually leach off the lighting circuit.
Off the light, yeah. Sorry, I thought that's what they were doing, because that makes sense.
No, unfortunately, I think if this photo is correct,
did see one.
There's a couple of, so on their website at energy.newsouthwales.gov.au, they show this is a Schneider curbside convenience, and then they do have an image of a charger on a pole, but that's not necessarily the main part of the program.
I'll see if I can find the one that I saw, because the one I'm pretty sure the one I saw didn't look like either of those.
One of the advantages of having them incorporated into a light pole is they're a lot more vandalism resistant, because the shorter ones that kids can just kick those over, and that has actually happened with those exact same ones, with those Schneider units. With some of them around Perth, they've been kicked over.
Yeah, so this site just is basically spruiking curbside chargers mostly. But then the problem too is you'll get the one sort of usual suspect that'll just hog that one charger. So unless they were ubiquitous and every light pole had EV charging ability, you'll still get imbalances in the system. But
have a look in the chat there, Harold. I've stuck a link to the one I was talking about. It's a bit different to what you were looking at.
Oh yeah, that one is a classical
I've seen that.
light pole charger. So yeah, it just depends.
I reckon that idea is brilliant. Just stick a whole stack of those in.
They're quite popular in London, those ones.
Absolutely, and it doesn't have to be high power. Like I said, it doesn't have to be 7 kilowatts. It could be 15 amps. Would be single phase. Would be tons. You're getting 15 k's an hour, which overnight is 150 k's. So that's tons. Especially if you park there every day. And obviously that goes without saying, that's for people that don't have off-street parking, or if they're in a strata unit that forbids the addition of any further charging equipment or any method of charging, which sadly, we have a member that we know of in Joondalup, coincidentally, that was not even permitted to have installed at their expense a 10 amp power point with its own meter. It was forbidden because that strata company had a dislike of EVs, which is quite outrageous. And what doesn't help it is when you go, for instance, to the city of Joondalup and you go to Lakeside Joondalup and you go, wow, this is a great site. Problem is, it's free parking, free charging. So at this site, this person could not use this charger because everyone else is freeloading. Because, humans being what they are, they can't resist it. It's free juice. So unfortunately, this person has to sometimes resort to driving to Karrinyup to the supercharger and paying for charging that way. But anyway, we're getting towards the end of the program. So have we got any last sort of comments, or even preferably a question or two?
Has anybody got a quote lately for insurance? Budget Direct have put the prices up a bit.
I heard, I forget who it was last week, said that their insurance went up 30+%. That was through RAC, and that was with no claims, no nothing. So is Budget Direct, is that a similar sort of amount, Carmen, perhaps like 20, 30?
Yes, mine, I've got all my insurances with them, and my house is first. The car is coming up. So I don't know yet, but my house has gone up $1,000.
Wow. Yeah, it looks like a lot of the insurance companies, I think it was sort of like they're trying to play catch up because they've had a few, like I think it's the reinsurance companies that have had quite a few big hits on large disasters.
Yes. Well,
and
there
they're
was a lot
upping.
of problems in Queensland, and they're based there. And I did have a small claim. I had a window, one of my big windows that shattered or cracked. It appears to be a heat fracture, they told me, which I had not heard of before. And they were amazing. They really did a fabulous job. It was all online of fixing it. And I don't know how much it was. I only had $1,000 excess, and these are big windows. And it was all textbook. It was very, very good. But when I got my insurance, I was a bit disappointed.
Yes, I dare say you might have gotten a good deal for the actual claim itself, but you may end up paying back that claim in higher
No,
premiums.
this is quite big. One of the tradies told me that the glass only was something like several $1,000s.
Yes. Oh yeah, indeed. Yeah, glass is not cheap.
Well, it's laminated as well.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
And 3 meters high and blah, blah, blah. But
Unfortunately, I think people are bemoaning generally, and I think it's a worldwide phenomena for things like house insurance and car insurance is going up.
Yeah.
And the times of panel beating cars and doing that sort of stuff is all gone now. At most you just peel off door skins or replace entire panels because it's just the way of the world these days. And I guess that means that the cost of repairing cars is higher, and that all just gets passed on to us who pay the premiums.
Yes. So I said to them, look, could you use last year's amount and put it up 5%, and I'll pay it. But they haven't got back to me yet.
Carmen, obviously get a quote from the RAC. There's a new insurance company that are trying to specialize in Teslas or in EVs, and that's KOBA, KOBA.
KOBA. Oh,
yeah,
yes.
KOBA Insurance. So give them a try. And also, can't remember who it was that mentioned Aldi on the show earlier today.
Well, I'm an Aldi aficionado. I buy from them quite a lot of stuff, especially for my little grandkids. And I've returned things to them, no questions asked, so I do like them. So I saw that advertised today, and I thought, well, I would be happy to give it a go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so I'll get a few quotes.
Yeah, look, that's the best thing to do, because in the old days, I guess you could call them the good old days, the RAC was hands down the cheapest, but that's just not the case anymore, sadly.
No.
So,
well, I think they're all doing an entry point insurance, and then after that they put it up. I'm prepared to pay 10% more, but I'm not prepared to pay much more than that.
Compare. Just make sure when you're comparing policies that you're comparing like for like. So same access, same features such as a rental car when your car's being repaired and
excess and so on. It's all fairly finely tuned.
Their own repairer.
Yes.
Some of them, which I don't like, some of the insurance companies insist that you've got to use one of their own repairers.
Right.
And for Teslas, their repairer is not a Tesla authorized repairer. And you can't use Tesla either. So just make sure you read the fine print as well.
Oh, okay. Oh no, I'd rather do Tesla authorized, even though I haven't had to use it. But I have got a small misdemeanor that happened at the beginning, and I've never done anything about it.
Alrighty, it's nearly time. Unfortunately, it's nearly the 2-hour mark, and apologies for those people on X. We've missed a few videos the last few weeks because there was a bug on the X platform that just refused to accept uploaded videos for whatever strange reason. Thankfully, that was fixed last week. So we've got to basically go very shortly. Pete, how would you round out an awesome show like this?
As always, stay safe, stay sustainable, go Starship, and stay ahead of the curve.
And hopefully that curve will be one that does not intersect the ground too soon for Starship. But the best way to do that is to buy a Tesla, join Tokwa, and ask us anything about accelerating the world's transition to sustainable energy. Have a wonderful week, everyone, and really look forward to seeing you all on next week's episode of Ask Us Anything. Good night, everyone.
Fantastic. Good
Thanks, guys.
night.
Thanks, Harold.